I think at the level that we talk about in terms of the filter perception thing, I don't think it's thought of that thoroughly yet in that way. That, ooh, this is showing up perceptually different because of their personality filters, behavior personality filters. I think we're at the vanguard of this thinking.
I know, but we don't know that. I mean, in the same way, and now this is pure hypothesis, in the same way that when we see a color, some people see one color and others another. I'm thinking that the same may be true when you hear words.
Yes, exactly. I believe it. But I'm saying,
same word, you hear something completely different.
Yes, but
that's not necessarily a personality trait.
I think it's our. Well, I was thinking of
filters. Filters in general.
Yeah.
But filters aren't all around personality.
No.
Okay.
But these are the ones that relate. The reason I call them personality or behavioral filters is simply because they impact how we respond and relate to the world. And it's not only that I tend to be an angry person or I tend to be a generous person or something like that.
Right.
It's also how the world is showing up to me and what I think the correct response needs to be to it. There's that filtering in there.
Right.
I think that we've been pursuing that more strongly than the general behavioral community has. Whereas this stuff that we're talking about, like with eyes or other sensory, those guys have been probably thinking about that for. They may not have had the experiment like this, but they've been wondering about that for a long time because they could see other shit that would suggest it, you know. So I think we're ahead.
Except that their explanation, though, of it's in the processing.
The processor. Yeah.
That to me speaks filter.
Yes.
That's what filters do.
Yes.
They process it.
Yes. I'm just saying they've explained it with a filter for visual, a filter that's in the visual processor. Right. I'm saying nobody really talks about the filters that are in the behavioral processors. Usually they just say, well, you know, like to find some like extreme trait person, schizophrenia, you know, where something like the hammer really knocks something out hard. You know, not at the subtle thing, and they'll say, well, they're having a problem seeing things differently because of this, that, or the other break. Whereas where I'm talking about is in the normal course of normal human beings getting together with all their faculties functioning well. I don't want to say normal, well. They will most likely misunderstand each other at some level because of the perceptual filtering related differences that are between them.
Well, that is what we've always been talking about.
And I don't think other people have talked about it at that level.
Could be.
In fact, when I try to suggest it to my kids, they reject it. Right now, they're like, no, you can teach anybody blah, 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 whatever it is. And I'm like, maybe not. So right now, they don't believe it. And I was kind of hoping that if it was out there in the general community already, that they would have encountered it in school and stuff like that. I would have thought, especially with the whole focus on accepting diversity kind of thing, that you'd throw this, if it was known, you'd throw this out there as an explanation for why. Because dudes were built all differently. So, you know, we want us all to be as fun as it can be for everybody, so, but I've never heard it mentioned. They don't see it that way.
Well, you know, it could be the
Yeah.
same way that when a fatalist talks about their beliefs,
Yeah.
everybody goes, no, free will wins, right? I mean, I think it's just like anything that is abhorrent to the way they see the world is just immediately rejected.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and there's another thing that you just touched on. It seems to me people are sensitive on the free will issue, meaning strictly that if you suggest that they're behaving out of some other thing than free will to choose however I want to, it's not comfortable for them to think that way.
Not at all. And even though I'm not a fatalist in the same way that fatalists are, my philosophy overlaps theirs a lot.
Yeah.
And I find the same thing whenever I don't do it very often, but whenever I try to explain that to the people, I get the same reaction. It's like, okay.
But I mean, I do like to think of myself pretty aggressively or whatever, insistently do or assuredly do, that I'm an independently thinking person making my own choices. And that the fact that I can abstractify and be objectified and all this kind of stuff makes me kind of free to make the choices I want to make. I'll defend that, but I'm just saying at the same time I know that I'm free to make the choices that I feel like I want to make. And what I feel like I want to make, that's filter.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
So we do have the free will, but it's not free will for everything. It's free will to figure out how we're going to make our filters feel the best about what the hell we're doing in our particular
It's free will to believe what we want to
circumstance. It's really free will to say, am I going right or left? It's like, if I have to make a choice, I'm going to get to make them. If I've had experiences or if I've had some genetic predisposition or something, man, I'm going to tend to go that way.
Right.
I'm going to be whatever. So
It is a hard concept for
it's
a lot of
free
people,
will
though.
constrained by organics. If only we could have an organic free will.
Right.
I guess that's the soul. Is that, or whatever? The
Well,
mist?
yeah, I mean, the soul is
the
just
mist organic free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just going to say the soul is just a religious definition of what I call the mist. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah,
Pesticide-free,
that is
organic-free.
a hard one for most people to wrap their head around. But those people's minds will never be changed any more than mine will ever be changed by them. So I don't see it as a negative or a worrisome thing. I just see it as I use the word here interesting. You might call it amused, but just interesting that people are different. It's like I just got to now take that into account in terms of my evaluation.
Well, I just think it's inevitable because of just the way shit works.
Right.
It's inevitable. We're not.
From a biological standpoint, absolutely, it's inevitable.
So to me, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, I have this level in me where it's like we talk about this stuff, and I call it speculation, but it's meant earnestly as could this be real, and can we try to focus in on what we think might really be going on? But I'm thinking, like, for me to be really convincing is, can you design some test of it?
Right.
And I don't know how we would do that with any of this stuff that we're talking about. So I was thinking about this on the motorcycle ride. I don't know how you can go from the, hey, this is a model, to, hey, this is actually a description, or even provides a framework for understanding reality. I don't even know how to assert that somebody could show experimentally, that this could be a framework for reality. I don't know how to do it.
I'm not sure it is doable.
So
because the person designing the test is going to be bounded by their own filters.
Right. And that's why in peer review, the peers are supposed to come at you from the other perspectives that you haven't thought of. Right. They're actually trying to figure out what you haven't thought of, and they're understanding your bias and then being a troublemaker. But they're not trying to kill your research. Right. This would be really exciting if what you're saying is true, but by the way, there's a hole over here, and so have you tested for that? That's how it used to go on in biochem, anyway.
Sure. No, all kinds.
And so, I don't even know I'd get interested in peer review of what we were talking about, because it's just like it's so challenging to the way so many people think about. This is early days.
It's very early days, and the peer review concept of trying to find holes, shit. That's low hanging fruit. There's all kinds of holes in this.
Oh, you can,
all speculative.
Because we have no experimental for ours, because we have no experimental data to point to.
Right, exactly.
So, that is anxiety provoking for me, but I still think it should be proposed and worked out, and I'll do my best.